I grew up in New England and I followed the idea that success equaled money. And I bought into that belief. So I really went after the American dream and I went after it hard. At the end of that whole journey, it almost killed me.
And at one point, you said you were so close to death that everything was shutting down.
I was literally one breath from death.
One breath from death.
And doctors giving me a 1% chance of actually living through the night.
And then something extraordinary happened.
Absolutely.
Tell me about it.
God talked to me. And he said, do you want to be here? And I looked out at my family, this saturation of love that touched my heart. Best feeling I've ever felt. So I knew instantaneously what my answer was going to be. Yes.
Yes, you want to be here.
Exactly.
You've basically miraculously healed yourself. You have, through the process, understood the divine in like really literal ways, and you've seen the energetic matrix of Mother Nature. You've been called to go outdoors. And then what inspired the documentary that you did? Because that was just an incredible piece of work. I think that just showed so much about this connection to Mother Nature.
I tried everything. I spent all the money I had. I saw every top doctor in the world that I could see because I had, father connected and the resources. But where did I get?
Yeah.
Sicker. Anybody takes anything away from this, like, you can heal yourself. Anything is possible. And it's all in the mind and also connecting with that higher power beyond yourself. And at a quantum level, you can restructure your cells, your DNA, everything. It's completely possible.
Okay, everybody, here we are. I'm with my father, Dr. Stephen Sinatra. I love this guy. I just got to tell you, we have a lot of fun together. So we're happy to be here with you today, Dad.
Hey, it's good to be here with your son. We're in France, somewhere in France at some little spot.
We're in the middle of nowhere, France, at a bio spa hotel, doing some grounding, actually.
Yes, we
right?
Yeah, you were walking barefoot, and you were doing qigong on the grass this morning. I saw you.
You came out and caught me doing that.
Yeah, and I was walking in my grounded, sandals, and I'll tell you, I wish I was sleeping grounded. Unfortunately, I didn't bring my
What, you didn't bring your gear?
I didn't bring my sheets.
Why not?
Well, because of all the different connections in Europe, it was
Oh, that's right. Difficult. See, I could have gotten the plugs for you, but we didn't have that discussion.
But the fact that I'm walking grounded all day long and doing barefoot as much as I can, and, we went swimming last night in the pools. And
that's why we came here, right?
And if you can ground at least 2 to 3 hours a day, that in itself is really productive for the body.
Oh, for sure. I mean, look, when I picked you up in Freiburg, this is in Germany, by the way, you were in your grounding sandals.
Yes, I was.
And it's cold and it's raining. And these are like old cobblestone streets from hundreds of years ago.
Yes, sir.
And I'm like, Dad, don't you want to have some better protection on your feet?
No way. No way. In fact, I even took my grounded sandals off at times and just put them on the bare rock. Rock.
You did.
Look, I want that Schumann effect, and
exactly.
For our listeners, let's just tell them what the Schumann effect is. I mean, the Schumann effect is basically the humming of the earth. It's the vibration of the earth's energy. And where does that come from? Well, it comes from solar flares. It comes from lightning storms. I mean, people don't realize, but the earth is struck by lightning thousands of times a minute, particularly around the equator.
Right.
And this charges the earth with electrons. The earth is endowed with all these electrons, and when you walk barefoot, you're taking the electrons in through your skin. You're an acupuncture guy. What do you call it? The K1, when it's below the
the kidney 1 point at the bottom.
So when you're walking barefoot, you're taking in these electrons through the meridians and through the pathways, through the acupuncture points. It's like taking handfuls of antioxidants. The best recommendation I can recommend for our listeners is walk barefoot when you can. You're getting an antioxidant effect naturally from the Earth's Schumann effect, or I do both. I take antioxidants by mouth as well. So I take them internally and you get them externally.
A little double dose. But, the human body was designed to be connected to the earth that way, from the feet, right? I mean, if you think about it, because that energy has to come up through all these meridians. It needs to go where it needs to go. And by far, this intelligent system that we're living in, this body, knows more than we do, actually, knows more than the mind does. So there's no doubt when I ground for an extended period of time, do I feel amazing? Yes.
Absolutely. What grounding does for modern man is exposed to EMF, Wi-Fi, all this electromagnetic soup in the environment.
Yeah.
It disturbs our protoplasm, disrupts heart rate variability. It does so many harmful aspects. I mean, when people see autistic spectrum disorder being on the rise, I mean, why is that? The EMF, the electromagnetic forces in the environment, they open up the blood-brain barrier. So the blood-brain barrier gets open to toxins, mercury, vaccinations, you name it. Anything that gets into the brain can affect the brain. So one of the best things that grounding does is it resets the autonomic nervous system. In other words, instead of getting this overwhelming autonomic response or epinephrine response or adrenal response, what the grounding does is it resets the parasympathetic nervous system with the sympathetic nervous system, so we get a balanced, and that's the key word, a balanced autonomic response. And that's why people feel calmer when they're grounding, because the autonomic discharge sort of attenuates.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, let's look at my health history, right? My nervous system, especially my autonomic nervous system, has been definitely dysregulated for, 15, 16 years after trading stocks on Wall Street. And I feel like I blew out my adrenals, and my nervous system has been off since that time. So when you introduced me to grounding, this has been after I was out of the hospital, this is in 2008, right?
Around that time.
Yeah, it was like about 2008. You came in and you gave me the recovery bag, the same bag that the guys on the Tour de France
Yeah, Tour de France.
were kind of demoing at the time, right?
Right.
The first night I slept in this thing, profound effects. I could actually sleep for the first time in, a month that I didn't wake up and in pain for, every other hour. And this is a whole nother story coming off of my hospital situation. But at that moment, there was no doubt in my mind that it worked. And then, especially when I'm on a nervous system overload, right? Let's say sympathetic drive. I will walk outside. I'll do whatever I can do to find some sort of grass, some sort of tree, whatever it needs to be, even dip my hand in a pool of water that I know is connected, and just let that body do its thing. It has way more intelligence than I even know. And then I can feel my autonomic nervous system actually balance out as time moves on.
Yeah, and we showed that with our clinical research. I mean,
Right.
The grounding team, which I'm part of, I have not done the major research. My name's only on a few papers. But, my colleagues like Gaetan Chevalier and Clint Ober, James Oshman, and others have done remarkable studies on earthing and grounding. And whenever you can cut down on cortisol, because you're a cortisol junkie, and you burn out your adrenals, whenever you can cut back on cortisol through the earthing response or the grounding response, not only are you preserving your hormones, but you're regulating the autonomic nervous system, as we discussed before, in a way that supports health and doesn't burn out your health, because that's what you were suffering from, is burnout. And people want to avoid adrenal burnout, and the way they can do that is by grounding to the natural Schumann effect of the earth.
It's beautiful. It's really great. We look at my own health history, what a test case that I have been for sheer grounding. We know I made some money on Wall Street. I pretty much lost my health. I spent all that money I made trying to get my health back, and with you together trying everything in the world, but what works the best?
Well, earthing.
Yeah, the stuff that's free. Hands down, the stuff that's free. And earthing being our number one, pretty much, we're both so sold on this, and that's why we're doing this at the moment.
We should tell our listeners one more thing. We wrote a paper in the medical literature about thinning the blood. One of the reasons why a lot of people are getting stroke today and heart attack is because with the EMF in the environment and all the insecticides and the pesticides and the heavy metals, you cannot escape the chemical pollution and the electromagnetic pollution in the atmosphere and our water supply. The list goes on and on. But what happens is our blood becomes like red ketchup instead of red wine from, prehistoric man.
Yeah, it's thick. It's thick blood.
Had thin blood. But basically, our blood becomes like red ketchup, and we're getting more cardiac events today. And one of the secrets of grounding is that it thins the blood. It's no longer a secret. We published the data. It actually thins the blood almost like 273% more. Mm-hmm. If I was practicing cardiology today and one of my patients called me up and said, gee, I think I'm having a heart attack, I'm having substernal chest pain, I broke out in a sweat, I'm a little bit dizzy, I would say, call an ambulance. But instead of waiting inside, go out inside.
Wait for the ambulance with your feet on the ground. Absolutely.
Because you may be able to thin that blood, dissolve that clot that's in the coronary vessel, which is causing the heart attack.
Exactly. I love that, Dad. And there's no doubt that thinning the blood has the effect, because we've looked at that under microscopy, and that's some of the studies you've done as well. And when I mean microscopy, I'm looking at when you take your blood out, you actually put it on a glass slide.
Yeah, dark field.
Yeah, dark field. And you can look at the blood cells.
We actually have nice pictures in our book, Earthing, the greatest discovery ever. If people want to look at some of these images, they're actually online as well in the cardiovascular literature. They can go to alternative medicine reviews and even look at some of these pictures. They're really powerful.
Oh, it's incredible. And then again, science has evolved. There's so many other ways to do that. Like there's plasmapheresis these days. You can exchange your plasma with young plasma. There's ways to get your blood moving. But if you're just grounded, it's going to move. It's going to actually unstick these little red blood cells that are called what, roulettes or something?
Rouleau formation.
Yeah,
what grounding does for our listeners, it increases zeta potential.
It's a great word.
Zeta potential it's the velocity, the force. Remember the Star Wars movies, the force be with you? Well, the force between your red blood cells is called zeta potential, and the more red blood cells repel one another, the less they stick together. That's the key. You want to increase your zeta potential, where the red blood cells will repel, won't stick, and if they don't stick together, they don't clump. If they don't clump, then you can avoid stasis of blood, or in a worse situation is a thrombosis or a clot, which can cause a heart attack or a stroke.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
I like how you said how it doesn't stick, and then there's this, actually I see it as a field. See, I see it as the quantum field doing its thing, right? Where there's this like little energy matrix that understands the situation, and if you're connected to the earth, which we need to be as human beings, this will automatically take place and flow naturally. But that's just a little segue.
Hello. I'm interrupting today's show to tell you something. You are amazing. Yes, and I just want to thank you for making it this far into the podcast. And if there's something, any phrase that, caught you or any way changed your life, that makes me feel good, and that's why I'm doing this. So, anyways, you have found this podcast because what you're seeking is seeking you. I just want to thank you for listening, and I hope this has made a difference in your life.
So, Dad, what other studies are being done in the moment? Do you know of any that are taking earthing and grounding to, let's say, a little bit more mainstream? Because we've been doing this for over, 10 years?
Oh, gosh. Well, there's about 25 papers in the literature. But the one paper that really gets to me is a rat study that was done, and I wasn't even part of the original.
All these rat studies. Yeah.
It's amazing. My colleagues took two groups of rats, the same rats. They were in the same cages. They both ate rat chow, same food. The one cage was grounded and the other wasn't. The diabetic revolution, or the incidence of diabetes in this country, in America, for example, and even the world, is skyrocketing. And when we did this rat study, I had this incredible aha, is that when you're ungrounded from the earth, when you're not grounded, your blood sugar goes up. And we've seen in the United States of America, there'll be 100 new diabetics within the next couple of years. We're approaching about a third to a quarter of our population is going to be totally diabetic. That's a disaster. That's going to put an enormous strain on the medical system. And it's my belief, as well as my colleagues, that you can lower blood sugar, lower insulin response, simply by earthing and grounding. It's been done in the rat model, needs to be done in the human model, but when other researchers show that blood sugar relationships improve with earthing, oh my gosh, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
It's a game changer for the world.
No, for sure. It's already an epidemic. That's a study that is just waiting to happen.
People,
of course, processed foods, blah, blah, blah.
When they're exercising, people are eating more sugars. There's more EMF, which disturbs the pancreas as well. If we can get back to basics and get back to the Mother Earth energy, and again, it cures a lot of ailments in the body. Even in our book, Earthing, the greatest discovery ever, we have hundreds of people writing in that they cleared up their illnesses, whether it was multiple sclerosis, Lyme infection, neurodegenerative disease, heart disease. It was amazing. But people write in all the time saying that when they put their bare feet on the earth, their health improves. It's that simple and easy. And it's free, folks. It's free. It's absolutely free. So,
absolutely. All right, this is great. So we wanted to just knock out a little bit of the grounding 101 and the 102, and I think we covered that. Let's segue into why you even came over to Europe in the first place. Why are you here, Dad?
Well, see to see you. And
There we go. You're here to see me, right?
see to see you and see how you're doing. And
Because what? I moved here.
you moved here, yep. You moved here, and it's a great place. I love it. And, we'll be going back to the airport. And next time I come, instead of being only a week, I got to make it at least 10 days to 2 weeks.
Thanks.
Give it a little more shot.
You need a little more time in Europe. And
Exactly.
I mean, I was trying to make a little dive into why I believe European living is a little bit better than the American model at the moment, but that can create a lot of triggers. For me, it was a clear, obvious decision to get out of, let's say, the EMF soup going on in America, which is pretty heavy, the toxic chemical dump, the glyphosate nonsense. It just goes on and on and on. I mean, I have this theory where kind of America failed on the top three things, and that's what? Food, water, and air. And, it's not like there's other places in the world that don't have the problems. I mean, it's everywhere, and for sure.
Well, you're really right about this, because in Denmark, they've taken advantage of this. In France, they've done it, or in Paris. In other words, there are selected groups of the population that are getting the EMF out of schools, which is
France.
a great place to start. Other governments have become privy to the relationship of toxic electromagnetic forces in the environment. See, the problem is you can't see, taste, or feel these electromagnetic forces, but they insidiously drain the body of energy, and they can disrupt the body, aggravate the autonomic nervous system, and eventually cause pathology or illness in the body.
Well, look at myself, Dad. I mean, come on. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that I've had some electromagnetic sensitivity, and I still deal with it.
And kids, they go to school, they get headache, or they get dizzy, they don't feel well, they go home, they feel better, on weekends they feel better, and a lot of it happens to be with the EMF that's going on in schools. But I'm optimistic. America is starting to get the message. Europe is way ahead. I think the European spas are good. I think Europe is a good place to heal. I'm sure people from America, when they travel to Europe, they'll be looking into spa medicine as a way of healing the body. And this is something you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're searching out these spas. You're finding out these little nicks of health where people get organic food and, low Wi-Fi. They turn it off at night over here. And basically,
Yeah, so how was it for you? Because I kind of dropped you into like my routine in a way of the places that I go to and how I'm setting this up for other people to come on the trips.
Well, it's kind of interesting.
You want to share with that one?
When I tested the Wi-Fi in the rooms here in Europe, it's a lot less.
A lot less.
Yeah, it's good.
And so many people don't know this, even in the States, and even here too. But, in the States, you buy a router, right? And a wireless router. It pretty much, it doesn't really come with an option to turn off the wireless situation. Yet in Europe, they come that way. They also come where you can program them to have certain levels, like you can knock it way down. Okay, some American models have that, yes, most don't. When I come to all these hotels that are actually already aware of this, they're not trying to soup you and saturate you with this stuff all around.
Well, especially a spa hotel. Why would they shoot themselves in the foot?
Well, how about that first place I sent you to? I mean, there was this thing on the outside of the door that says, Swiss EMF protected. And they had actually created a really interesting grounding technology. I don't know if it was like biogeometry based, right? But it was something with the water piping to make sure that all of the energy is diffused through each room using water pipes. I wasn't aware. This is a new one for me. But at this moment, even in this hotel, this is the reason I came to this place in the middle of France, is because you can only use the Wi-Fi if you consciously turn the TV on. And then when you turn the TV off, the Wi-Fi goes off.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because I tested the rooms and the TV,
it was fine.
TV was absolutely off, and I was getting great readings on my rad meter.
Yeah.
By the way, we should tell our listeners.
We really should about what the meters.
You can pick up these rad meters online. I mean, they're
huge. They're huge.
And it's like having a CNI dog with you at all.
I like that, Dad.
Having a German Shepherd at your side, you can go into a hotel and turn it on. And if the room is in the red zone, it's toxic. You don't want to be in that room, and that's what I do.
Well, that's what we did the first time. We didn't have a hotel room that first night. And, you're like, Step, go and do your thing. Well, what did I do? I go in, I scope out a few rooms, I smog it, I smell the room. That's an issue for me, too. And I pick my room. I have done this over, oh my gosh, at least 300 to 500 times because I travel a lot and I've been all over the world and I've used these same detectors for almost 10 years. If I didn't have this thing, my health would be a whole different story. I'm able to protect myself like you.
Well, again, and you can't see. Some people feel it. I mean,
I feel it.
Even kids with braces on their mouths have reported cardiac arrhythmia and feeling nauseous and headache. Disturbed heart rate variability is a sign of Wi-Fi. Even myself, I have a metallic hip, I have a prosthetic hip, and when I'm in a strong Wi-Fi environment, I attract it, so metal attracts it into the body.
Right.
But anyway, I think this has been a good conversation. I think we should give a couple of takeaways for our audience. I mean, what's the first takeaway that you think?
Well, you don't want to keep going, huh?
No, I think
Just got to check out of the hotel, folks.
I think when it comes to Wi-Fi, little snippets like this and grounding and EMF is good, because remember, this is foreign to most people. Most people don't really understand this. So they need to get it in bits and pieces. You can't give it to them all at once. And I think what we've done today is alert him to the fact that the first takeaway is Mother Earth energy is sweet. It's what we all need. Ground whenever possible. Walk barefoot when you can. I mean, look, let's be honest. I mean, you don't want to walk in grass up to your knees or in lime-infested areas.
Yeah, tick issue.
You just want to walk in nice, clean areas and where the grass is cut. I think the safest place to ground is on the beach with the ocean.
For sure. There we go. All the best. Much love to everybody. Thank you for listening, joining my father and I. He is off to catch a plane and back to the United States. Dad, make sure you do your...
say Alvidasen? Is that what I say?
Auf Wiedersehen.
Alvidasen. Goodbye,
Yeah, or
everybody.
truce, whatever, something like that. I'll make sure you'll ground the first thing you do when you
Absolutely.
land, right?
That's a secret when you fly. Get it ground as soon as you get off the plane.
Beautiful. Okay.
All right, folks.
All right.
Alvidasen.
Ciao. I hope this podcast has added some value to your life today. And I just want to thank you again for listening. And I want to share that I know you have an enormous amount of content to navigate in the sea of information these days. And my intention is to get you off the phone and more into yourself. And the beauty of this podcast format is that I suggest you download it and listen to it when you're walking in the woods or have some leisure time, because that would be the best, or even driving, the best situation to enhance your experience. And also, you don't want the EMFs. So that's why download it, listen to it offline, and enjoy. And have a fabulous day.